Oh my goodness. This judge is going viral because of her conduct in the workplace. And I guess because of her position, it's created a big huff. They are both married to their spouses, but they had an affair with one another. It was she and a police officer that worked in the court. And they were saying that she was just loud and carrying on with the men and all this stuff. Man, that was very crazy.
Married federal judge Eleanor Ross, her chambers in Atlanta, married police deputy chief Kelly Collier, work hours and thin walls. How'd they get caught? People outside could hear them. I don't think this was an oral argument, but I read the order, so let me tell you what it says happened. So one of Judge Ross's law clerks filed a complaint saying the judge was having intimate relations in her office so loud it disrupted the work environment. The complaint went to the chief judge, a special committee was formed, outside investigators hired, and 6 former clerks interviewed. 6. And here's what most people missed. Some people think this is just about a judge blessing her chambers, but a federal judicial misconduct investigation in the 11th Circuit found 3 violations: the relationship in chambers, attending a political victory party for Fani Lewis when federal judges can't participate in partisan activity, and when investigators came asking, she didn't tell the truth initially. So you've got the relationship, the political event, and the cover-up. The punishment was a private reprimand, and she stays on the bench. But the reprimand is just the beginning. There are 2 other things happening as a result. The first is that watchdogs are calling on Congress to impeach her and start the removal process to get her off the bench. Remember, federal judges have lifetime appointments, and removal requires Congress. The Constitution designed it that way so judges can't be threatened, pressured, or fired every time they make an unpopular decision. So Todd Chrisley, the reality star Judge Ross sentenced to 12 years for fraud, would like a word with Congress about all of this. The second thing is the DOJ is asking for her removal from a Georgia elections case, arguing that a judge who attended a party celebrating the election of a Democrat, best known for prosecuting a Republican president for alleged election interference, cannot then preside over a case concerning that president's efforts to ensure election integrity. Nothing's been decided, but I'll update you later. But remember, this is legal education, not legal advice. And it's always a good idea to remember not to get your honey where you make your money. Follow.
There are some people who think that workplace misconduct only happens in cubicles, break rooms, factories, just your everyday workplaces. But it's bigger than that. It happens in places that you would really not think about. It happens in courthouses, happens in police departments, it happens in law firms, executive suites, because the reality is human beings are human beings no matter how important the title. And the case I want to talk with you about today hits a little closer to home than most of the cases I tell you about. It's the case that's currently all over the news, the one involving Judge Eleanor Ross and the formal reprimand she received for engaging in an inappropriate sexual relationship with a deputy chief of police officer. Now, the allegations weren't simply that a relationship existed. The findings involved conduct occurring inside the judge's chambers and concerns raised by court employees who worked all around the judge. Now, eventually, law clerks reported what they observed. And that's the part that immediately caught my attention. Not because of the relationship itself. I mean, we hear about these inappropriate relationships all the time. But because of what it says about workplace dynamics. I tell y'all about this all the time. Coworkers are not your friends. Keep your business private. And anytime you see a story about somebody getting in trouble because of workplace misconduct or if there being a lawsuit, the first thing they do is interview the people around you. And when I saw this story, I thought, here we go again. That's what they do. And so, yeah, you can have a workplace friendship that started at work, but you need to be careful what you share, whether you're sharing it intentionally or unintentionally, because when things go south, your coworkers will be the first people they talk to. Now, I spent a lot of time in Judge Ross's courtroom over the years, and I'll be honest with you, the story shook me. Not because a federal judge got herself into trouble. I mean, you hear about stuff all the time. But because when someone looks like you, moves in your same circles, when they're your same age, and when you spent years appearing before them, at some point it stops being just a news story and it starts to feel a little personal. And I had to sit with this story before I could talk with y'all about it. But now I'm ready to share my thoughts. I've processed everything. When things happen, again, especially things that hit close to home, my question is always, what can I learn from this? What can I take away from this? And so I want to share with you what I took away from this case, this matter. Before I get into it, I'll ask that you please remember to subscribe to my channel to the extent that you've not done so already. Goes a long way in helping me continue to bring information to you like this, and people need to know these things. Make sure you check out my books on Amazon. The link to my books are in the description of this video, and also people ask how to reach me. You can reach me by reaching out to my assistant. Again, the information is in the description to this video, so let's continue. So here are my thoughts on this situation. I have a lot of thoughts, but I have primarily 4 main takeaways that I want to share. The first one is, most people don't get caught because they're powerful. They get caught because they get comfortable. Now, I tell employees all the time that if you have a strong case and the company knows that they have exposure, they're going to be watching you. And if you don't take action to protect yourself before deadlines pass, they'll just sit there and wait you out. They know what's happening. They'll just wait you out. They know that if they can get you comfortable enough, you'll stop protecting yourself. You'll complain informally to friends, colleagues. Meanwhile, missing EEOC deadlines, whatever filing deadlines apply, because you're comfortable. You'll stop documenting, and even worse, you will eventually give them something to use against you, because that's what they're waiting for. They know all about playing the long game. Now, looking at this Judge Ross situation, I couldn't help but think about the same principle. Different circumstances, different consequences, but the danger of getting comfortable, that's universal. Managers get comfortable and start playing favorites openly. Companies get comfortable and start cutting corners. Public figures get comfortable and forget people are watching. That's a powerful lesson. Second takeaway was, this whole illusion of privacy. Specifically, just because something isn't public doesn't mean it's private. When people hear judges' chambers, they imagine some giant private office hidden away from everyone. That's not what judges' chambers look like. Chambers for federal judges, it's like an apartment, like a small 2-bedroom, maybe 3-bedroom apartment. So you walk down this hall, and all the judges are, neighbors, so to speak. So you go to the door of whichever judge you're visiting, and there's a nameplate on the door, and they have to buzz you in. And when you go in, there are clerks sitting in that first office. And remember, these clerks are lawyers also. And so they each have their desk there, maybe 3, 4, I guess, at a maximum. And then there's another door, and that door leads to the judge's chambers, if you will. You go in and there is, you know, a couch, a place, a table, a bathroom. It's like a studio apartment. But the point is, the only thing separating the judge from the clerks is a door. That's all that's separating them. So even if the staff isn't being told your business, if you're not telling them anything, you're sharing it with them if you're engaging in conduct loud enough for them to hear exactly what you're doing. And that's certainly the allegations in this case. And that's what, according to reports, prompted the clerks to eventually come forward. The reports indicate this had been going on for a long time. And things go on for a long time because you get comfortable. And the more comfortable you get, the more careless you get. And the more you tend to forget, people are watching. I tell employees all the time not to tell coworkers their business. But here's another lesson. Sometimes you don't tell coworkers your business. You simply make it impossible for them not to know. Takeaway number 3. Power doesn't change human nature. The higher you rise, the more public your mistakes become. You know, one thing this story reminded me of is that titles don't eliminate human weakness. Judges are people, with or without the robe. Lawyers are people. CEOs are people. Doctors are people. And we all have blind spots. I think sometimes we assume that when people reach certain levels, they become different somehow. More disciplined, more careful, more evolved. But they don't. They're still people. And wherever human beings gather, human behavior follows. Politics follow. Relationships follow. Favoritism follows. And you know what else? Poor judgment follows. Just a question of degrees. Sometimes accountability follows. But you know what? Sometimes it doesn't. You know, judges, federal judges have lifetime appointments. So, you know, she got reprimanded. Federal judges don't get fired. The reason they have these lifetime appointments is so that they can feel free to make decisions without fear of being fired or feared of whatever consequences might arise from the decision that they made. So, you know, I don't think she's in any danger of losing her job. But, you know, here's the thing. You lose a lot of other things. You're not losing your job, but there's a lot that will be lost as a result of what happened. So you might not be accountable in the traditional sense, but yeah, accountability, one way or another, I guess, does follow. In any event, the dynamics themselves are universal. Human nature is human nature. And finally, I want to talk about grace. It's easy to judge someone else's worst moment when yours wasn't public. I spent a lot of time thinking about this story, and I was surprised by the range of emotions I felt.
So this story I'm seeing about I think it's the Atlanta judge and the police chief or a police officer that were getting it on, like, in the chambers or whatever. Your Honor, were you enjoying it? Because them noises, I never heard no noise. I ain't never heard no noises like that before. Like, I understand, you know, like, when you in the heat of it, and you will get a little louder, but I never, oh my God. Was he hitting your cervix or something? I don't know. Like, it sounds painful. Like, if you were my neighbor and I heard that, I would call the police. If I was at work and I heard that, I would call the police. Because I would assume that you getting 86. Because, girl, oh my God. And then both of y'all married. And then she gonna say, oh, I didn't think y'all could hear us. Oh, Georgia, what y'all got going? She said, I didn't think you would hear us. babe, I can hear you all the way here in Texas. And I need the police, well, maybe a different jurisdiction or a different county police to come over there, a different city police, because that sounded like it hurt.
Yesterday, I posted a video and I deleted it because the clip I used was not the judge knocking boots and moaning and groaning in chambers. The clip was actually unverified and it just has her picture layered on top of it. So let's try this again. Take 2. So when you're a judge hunching on somebody else's husband in chambers so loud that your employees file complaints, we have to talk about it. I saw this story when it first dropped and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to blow up the spot, but it's trending now, so I'm gonna speak my piece. And I want to be clear, I'm not making any moral commentary about the judge and the police chief knocking boots at work during business hours while they're both married to other people. I am mostly interested in how they tried to keep this judge anonymous, but AI discovered her identity. So this U.S. District Judge, Eleanor Ross, and an Atlanta police deputy chief were getting it on in her office with her clerk sitting right outside the door. I really hate this for both of your spouses. Clerks saw the police deputy chief walk into chambers, overhearing what sounded like adult activities through the walls. I'm talking about kissing sounds, moaning, music playing. One clerk was so unsettled that they left for the day. Now, there was an investigation and the judiciary tried to keep the judge anonymous, as they are allowed to do by law, but I thought this was interesting because I saw the police chief's name everywhere and I was like, okay, but also, who is the judge? Well, a journalist at Above the Law wrote this excellent piece about how plugging the publicly available information into AI narrowed it down to Judge Eleanor Ross in less than the time that it would take you to make and drink a cup of coffee in the morning. The Streisand effect strikes again. The judiciary tried to hide this and inadvertently made it an even bigger story. Were all the hotels in downtown Atlanta sold out or something? I'm not understanding. As far as consequences go, the judge got a private reprimand and is still employed as a judge. She did have to write apology letters to her clerks, but she didn't have to explain explicitly what she was apologizing for. Again, that was a part of trying to keep her anonymous. And also, the police chief deputy is under investigation. In the world of AI, it is going to be much harder to keep things like this anonymous moving forward.
There is something to be said about workplace boundaries, because not only are you in a respectable position, but you have to carry yourself in that so-called respectable position, because let me tell you something, they're looking for all kinds of avenues to say DEI and you shouldn't be there, even though other people will be acting all out of sorts, but that's definitely hidden. And to have her carry on like this in the courthouse, and they found out who she was. It was very easy to find out who she was. So even if her position grants her the ability for anonymity, she was still discovered as the one who did it, and then she got reprimanded. So the thing with this type of judge is not brought in by voting. It is by appointment by the sitting president at the time. So it was Obama that had appointed her. And so that's a lifetime appointment for the federal judge. So to have the judge carrying on that way, that's just absolutely. Workplace boundaries is very important. Never be too comfortable. Never think that you're bigger than the program. It doesn't matter what it is. They can always shake you on out of there. And in other cases that she had done, so she was the one that actually sent, I want to say Todd Chrisley. I don't know if they were reality stars, and they were involved in some fraud thing. She was the judge that actually handed the sentence to him, and Donald Trump pardoned him because he was going in for 14 years, and he was pardoned. But it's so insane to have him try to come out and say, well, she needs to look here. That her misconduct and all that stuff is a different story than Chrisley's situation. So he shouldn't even come up and be talking about, we need to review all the cases that she has done. You really did steal money. He really did steal money. That has nothing to do with that. But he tried to come on a podcast and say she needs to be impeached and this and that and the other. Her misconduct, that's one separate situation. Your peers, not that judge, but your peers deemed that you and your wife was a thief. And she just handed the sentence to you. So anyway, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. How are workplace boundaries to you? Do you think they're important? And if they are, why? Until next time.